and humidity just about as high as it can get. Also, scattered strong to severe thunderstorms expected this afternoon with downpours, damaging wind gusts, and hail as well. Please stay alert to any kind of watches or warnings issued in your town or city. I'm Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the Morning Drive weekdays on
y'all.
WCRN.
Here's the disclaimer.
The paid program. The opinions are those of the host and guests, and not necessarily those of the station or its management.
Welcome to Making Money Last,
Jerry,
America's
your mic is
retirement resource on Full Service Radio, AM
too,
830 WCRN. Now, here's your host, Jerry Daugherty.
Good morning, New England, and welcome to Making Money Last, America's retirement resource. My name is Jerry Daugherty. Thanks for stopping by this morning. It's good to see everybody again. Well, as you know, if it is Thursday, which it is another Political Thursday here on Making Money Last. Politics and the economy. Do I need to make the case to anybody out there how closely the two are linked? And joining me as she does every Thursday morning at this time is Holly Robichard. You know Holly from the Boston Herald as well as from Talk Radio right here in Massachusetts. Holly, welcome back to the program. It's great to see you again.
Oh, great. Thanks for having me on. So, Jerry. Right now, both the House and Senate are in session, so it's the most dangerous time, right, for the Massachusetts voters. I mean, as you know, the House is taking up the so-called police reform bill, and people don't know, but there is an amendment in there. I believe it's number 99, which would give licenses to illegal immigrants. So the insanity continues. I can't wait for them to get out of session so they can stop doing damage.
Holly, it's simply unbelievable. So in the police reform bill, not only are we doing things, relative to qualified immunity that are going to make it impossible for police officers to do their job, but on top of that, they have now added that they want to offer licenses. These are driver's licenses, or what type of licenses?
No, it would be driver's licenses for illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
So absolutely frightening what's going on up there at the State House. And look, if they had held a real public hearing, they'd be hearing from people on this. To put this kind of legislation into an amendment into the police reform bill is bad policy and really scary times for us. It's like if you work for a living, if you're a hardworking taxpayer in the private sector, the State House is saying forget you. Because, you're going to pay your taxes, but you're not going to have police protection. This is nuts with what's going on. And for them to make it easier for criminals and harder for police is the wrong way to go. It's not making anybody safer. And as we've seen shootings in Dorchester, we've got to take crime seriously, not allow criminals to run amok.
Absolutely. It's the only way this thing is going to work. The only way you can have a free society is that if you are indeed free to pursue your lawful pursuits, protected from people who are pursuing unlawful pursuits. This is, very, very basic stuff that I like you, it's completely anathema to my thinking or the thinking of what this country was founded upon. Holly, is there any opposition to this bill? It seems like there's a whole ton of people who are on board with this. Is there any opposition from like Governor Baker or anybody? Is there anybody who is going to step in and to bring some sanity back to this, or is everybody on board with this at this point?
Well, it's disappointing that Governor Baker has not had the courage to say both these bills are extremely bad and led on this issue. He hasn't said anything on it. There has been a little bit of fighting within the on the House and Senate side from the Republicans, but overall, most of this, especially in the House, is being done behind closed doors. I have the session on right now, and nothing is happening. And they're supposed to be in debating this bill. I watched pretty much yesterday. They probably debated they were in session from, I believe, from 11 o'clock to 11 o'clock last night. And I think if they debated more than an hour, I'd be shocked. And most of the amendments were being done behind closed doors. And there was also this, at one point, probably 4 or 5 members got up and spoke on different amendments and then said, I withdraw my amendment. It was like, there's such a lack of transparency. And I understand what's going on when they say they're withdrawing the amendment. That means that the speakers told them, you can't do that. You can't do that. And if you do that, you're not going to get a good parking space. You're not going to get a second aid. You're going to get an office in the basement. That's what's going on. You're not going to get a chairmanship. And we don't have democracy right now. What we have is pay raise protection plans going on in the legislature. Nobody dares go against the Speaker of the House, because if they do, they won't get the extra pay. They won't get the good parking spot. So they don't care about the people. They only care about their wallet.
And ultimately, this whole thing is just lined up like these licenses. It's all just lined up to create more Democrat voters.
It is all lined up to create more Democratic voters. We're seeing the mail-in ballot system. I didn't get my ballot, but other people are complaining they got 2 or 3 people. They're getting ballots for people that don't live there anymore, haven't been living there for decades. It shows you how bad our voter lists are. It's actually criminal how bad the voters lists are, and it's not that difficult to check these things, because I do bulk mail for candidates all the time. And when I send a list over to the vendor to do the mail, they run it through the post office has a system where you can double check and see if the addresses are correct. And so they run it through it. Why you didn't do that with this mail going out with mail-in ballots, which is so important, I can't figure that out. How is that happening?
It's sloppy, to say the least. And Holly, I do have to tell you, I know you know in a very granular way what is going on Beacon Hill. Most people just know in a more macro sense what's going on Beacon Hill. But the problem is, I think that there are 2 problems here. I think the problem is, number one, you have a bunch of people who have created their little fiefdoms. They have, and it now starts to become a political machine where they're creating more voters. People are beholden to them for jobs. People are beholden to them for benefits, state jobs, not, of course, public sector jobs. Not, of course, private sector jobs, only public sector jobs. And also for benefits. And they've realized, it's the old de Tocqueville thing, point number 2, is that, once you have people in a democracy who understand that they can vote themselves favor, that's the end of it. It's the end of it. That's essentially what's going on right now at Beacon Hill. It's very depressing. I also saw something, Holly, or I read something regarding the police reform bill. Is there some now new cannabis component to the police reform bill? Did you see that?
I have not seen that.
Okay. Apparently,
but I'm sure they're lighting it all up.
Apparently, there's a cannabis component to this bill now. Now, how that relates to police reform is beyond me. But there's some cannabis legislation apparently in there as well. I was reading something the other day on that. Just amazing.
Well, of course, they make it easier to smoke pot.
Right.
Right?
Right, of course. Of course.
I mean, why don't they just say, okay, we'll make heroin illegal at this point? Because that's the way this whole thing is going, is that we're going to have no law, no order, and we're going to have no police. And why... I'm questioning, okay, one of the reasons why we pay our taxes is to have that police and firefighter protection. And these bills also hurt firefighters, especially the one on the Senate side, because it got rid of qualified immunity for the firefighters as well. So they're not going to come to rescue us with the way these bills are written. So we might as well just abolish the police departments and say, and take our tax money and hire our own protection, because that's what we're going to need. And we're going to become a third world country.
Right. And yet at the other levels of government, they're looking for absolute immunity. For example, Governor Baker, as I understand it, he pretty much has absolute immunity. His isn't even qualified immunity. So they maintain this, and they want to take away from cops, from firemen, from nurses, people on the front lines who are dealing with people who have to make split-second decisions based sometimes not a lot, not upon a huge amount of information. You know, they see somebody with a gun, they see somebody who's bleeding, they see somebody who's been in a car accident. You don't have the entire medical history of somebody. You don't have the entire medical history of somebody. You have to make decisions based upon the information that you knew at the time. And that's what qualified immunity is all about. It doesn't protect these people. It doesn't protect cops, and it doesn't protect firefighters and other people from doing things that are illegal or unconstitutional. It just protects them from making split-second decisions that they have to do. So if you don't have that protection in there, and if they're going to be held accountable as if they had all of the information in the world in making a split-second decision, and they can put their houses and their families and their future earnings on the line, who in God's name, in the right mind, would ever go into that profession? It's just another attempt, this eliminating qualified immunity. It's just another attempt, and it's not even a well-veiled attempt, to go out there and to dismantle police departments completely from people who want to engage in illegal behavior. I think they're the ones who are truly behind this, Holly.
I agree with you. I can't disagree, and it's very upsetting. And and I'll do a comparison here in Massachusetts. We don't have a police problem. Many of our police officers have been killed in the line of duty. The police officer that killed somebody was out in Minneapolis, not here in Massachusetts. Begins with an M, but they've mixed it up, okay? It's not Massachusetts. Whereas at the Holyoke Soldiers Home, we've had 78 deaths there. And the legislature has done nothing. They have legislation. They haven't considered it at all. They're not going to move on it, I'm pretty sure, between now and the 31st. So they're failing our veterans, and yet they're punishing our police. Their priorities are all wrong, and I believe if they talk to people on the street, they would find out that the voters, that residents are not liking what they're doing, and they're very angry.
Oh, my goodness, yes. No question. And then, Holly, also, as you know, that Massachusetts now, not only do we have the fourth highest number of coronavirus deaths in the United States out of all the states, fourth highest, per capita, not the number, but the per capita number of deaths in the United States. We also now have the honor of having the distinction of the highest unemployment rate at 17.4% in the United States, right here in Massachusetts. So we have a national rate of about 11.1 or so, a little bit more than 11%. And Massachusetts is running at about 150% of the national unemployment rate. That's really wonderful. So
it's very scary, Jerry. And you and I've been talking about the economy for months now, and saying, look, they've got to get going. They've got to figure this out. And yet, you see no rush to judgment to help small businesses. I mean, these small businesses were shut down with no option to safely reopen, and now they're like, "Oh, we got high unemployment." Well, no kidding. This is what was going to happen.
Right. And all of the problems that are going to result from that, with suicides, with drugs, with alcohol, and so on. But, Holly, thank you very much for joining us again this morning. I really appreciate your joining the program every week like this. It's truly a pleasure to speak with you. Okay.
Happy to do it as long as I'm still employed.
You are the best. Holly Robichard, thank you very much, and I'll speak to you next week. Okay, we're going to take a brief time out, and when I come back, I'll be joined once again, as I am on Thursdays, by Joe Mangicotti. You know Joe from the Joe Mangicotti Show, heard right here on WCRN every Saturday and Sunday morning. If you're not listening to Joe's show, it really is must-listen to radio. And also by the Colonel, 38 years, retired Army Colonel Matthew Masnick. Thank you for your service, sir. I will be right back.
Good day. This is Noel from Computer Hospital at 653 Chandler Street in Worcester. COVID-19 is upon us, and the Computer Hospital is here to help with your home office as well as keeping your PCs up and running so you can stay in touch with family and friends. Our hours are Monday through Friday, 9 to 7, Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 6. Call me at 508-314-1391. The Computer Hospital, 508-314-1391, 653 Chandler Street in Worcester, 508-314-1391.
If you were to ask any retiree in a word, they would tell you that retirement is all about income. Income in retirement is a permission slip to enjoy life. Income provides the freedom to spend money each month, knowing that more will arrive next month and the month after that. As important as it is to accumulate assets for your retirement, it's equally, if not more important, to maximize the income being generated from your assets. My name is Jerry Daugherty, and for the past 6 years, my radio program, Making Money Last, has been heard right here on WCRN. Well, do you know if your retirement income is as high as it could be? Are you living off less than you should be? Well, I'd like to offer you a complimentary review to answer that very question. Simply call my office at 877-772-1776. I'm conveniently located right on Route 9 in Westboro. Again, my number is 877-772-1776. Let's increase your income today.
Enjoy sitting down with your family for an Italian home-cooked meal? A trip to Ziti's is just like that, every time. The smells and tastes of true time-tested Italian recipes, the best in Italian cuisine, served by some of the nicest people you will ever meet. Ziti's fine Italian cooking is a favorite in Metro West at Turnpike Road in Westboro. Every meal at Ziti's is one you will remember. Head on down to Ziti's, all the best food Italy has to offer, right here in your backyard.
Here we go.
This is Making Money Last.
All right, gentlemen,
America's
and Joe,
retirement resource.
your mics are live.
On Full Service Radio.
Stop playing with them.
30 WCRN. Once again, here's your host, Jerry Daugherty.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. It's always fun to have Holly Robichaud join us. She really is taking a very detailed look at what's going on in Beacon Hill. You know, it's hard for us, just people listening to this program, and even me myself, to stay on top of everything that's going on in Beacon Hill. So it's, you know, thank goodness that we have people out there like Holly who are bringing these things to our attention, because there is a lot of insanity there. And at the national level, there's a lot of insanity as well. A lot of states making some decisions that are just beyond the pale, really hard to understand. And to put some of these into context, joining me every Thursday is Joe Mangicotti. You know Joe from the Joe Mangicotti Show. Joe has been doing a political talk show here on WCRN for roughly 14 years now. And he's heard every Saturday and Sunday morning. Aptly enough, it's named the Joe Mangicotti Show.
Didn't start out that way.
Didn't start out that way.
Started out as conservatively speaking, and even prior to that, you know, the origin really came from the Tea Party show. And then Mike Wade grabbed it from there, and I joined him there. And so actually it goes back even further than that, the origins of it. But Mike stepped down as the leader of the show in 2017.
Well, some would say, Joe, evolving from the conservatively speaking to the Joe Mangicotti Show has made you less clever, but maybe more frank. And maybe that's what we need, is a little bit more honesty.
And a great target.
And a great target.
Oh, yeah, big target. I have a bullseye on my back, I got to tell you.
You're okay. You can take a little ribbing every now and then. We can all take a little bit of that. Maybe we could all use a little bit more of that right now in this society.
Yes, we can. We could take people who can take it. That's what we need, more people who can actually take it. They dish it out well.
Right.
But they need to take it.
Well, you're a very good sport. You really are. On the ribbing that you get here every Thursday morning. And we're also joined by retired Army Colonel, 38 years. I think it was 7 years active duty. Is that what it was? 8 years active duty and 30 years in the reserves. Colonel Matthew Masnick, a legend in central Massachusetts.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's wonderful to see you. And your views, you know a lot about all things military. And that's why we love having you on here. You've taken us through how drones work and different weapon systems and so on. Recently, we've been very focused on coronavirus, of course.
And the FBI wants to talk to him about some of that stuff he let out.
Right. But in the background, you know, in the backdrop against all the coronavirus, there still is a lot of military excursionism going on. Maybe not so much by the United States, but by other countries right now. So it's great to have your expertise, sir, on board. And plus, you're just a wonderful guy. And you've been fighting cancer over the past few years, which is made things a little bit difficult for you, a lot difficult.
That's because I have a good caregiver called Jean.
Right. Called your wife, Jean. She is wonderful. Well, that's what they say, even in retirement planning. If you are married,
you live longer.
You live longer. It's
Yep.
really true. You have a purpose and somebody to keep you alive, and love is a wonderful thing. And
I
you
tell
have a very
everybody,
marriage.
almost 50 years.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being with the same person almost 50 years?
Absolutely, I can't.
It's really wonderful. But anyway, well, let's start off talking a little bit about the economy as we do, and then we'll move on to some of the other national issues during the second half of today's program. But the economy, we had more unemployment claim numbers. As you know, the weekly unemployment claims, people may not have been aware of this before coronavirus, but every Thursday the government releases the unemployment claims, how many people are filing for unemployment. So we're starting to see some states reclose businesses that they had previously reopened. So we kind of have a second wave of closures. So the unemployment claims, people who filed for new unemployment claims, actually ticked up a little bit over the past week. It went up to 1.42 million, 1,400,000 essentially, new jobless claims that were filed, which is a little bit more than 100,000 more than the previous week. So that's going in the wrong direction. Now, another interesting number in there is the number of people who are filing for unemployment claims ongoing. So there's ongoing claims, how many people want to remain on unemployment. That number went down a little bit, but we still have 16 million Americans, roughly, who have filed for ongoing claims. That number going down is a good sign, but the new number of claims obviously is a very disturbing sign.
You think that's because of the 31 July where the stimulus package ends?
It could be. We'll see. Now, that they're meeting to talk about potentially extending that and having another round of unemployment, but of stimulus spending. So we'll see what goes on there. But there's pros and cons to that. We certainly want to make sure that we're getting money to people so they can pay their bills during this situation, which hopefully will be temporary. But the other side is we don't want it to be a discouragement.
And they're even
and that's the case in a lot of situations.
They're even proposing to pay the people 70% of their salary. Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I don't know where Nancy Pelosi and at all think that all this is coming from. The money's going to come from. We in the first one we kind of rushed, and I say that in the royal the Congress kind of rushed into it. They didn't really know what was going on. They put that $600 on top of your unemployment. You had people actually who, ran out to get a job to get laid off, so they could literally file for it. Now you've got people bringing home $900, $1,000 more than they've ever made in their life. One of the posts I said, the guy said, "Hey, I started getting this. I didn't need it. I didn't use it. I've been banking it. By the time the end of July comes, I'll have $35,000 in the bank." And he didn't need it. And now the concern is to not do that again. Plus, needs are different, right? I mean, we have some states, we got to be a little more surgical about it, right? Some states don't have any cases, right? Vermont has no cases of COVID. Why are we putting people, giving them $600 a week in Vermont? It's got to be a little more surgical. Some of the Republicans are saying, well, maybe we give a $450 bonus to go back to work, to get back on the payroll. Because employers are having the problem with, okay, come back to work. No, I don't feel safe. I don't want to. There has to be a point where you have the option. If you decide not to go back to work, that becomes your responsibility.
If the unemployment ends, believe me, they'll go back to work. But as long as they're extending the unemployment and giving them extra money, there's no reason to go to work.
It becomes a disincentive. Absolutely.
In the bill they're proposing, and I think President Trump had a great idea in saying, how about we relieve them on the payroll tax, right? So if you go back to work,
at least you're working,
right? You're working. Instead of us paying you money, we'll stop collecting that money. That's a pay raise to you. The end result is a net pay raise.
And the employer.
Right? Give a break, get back to work. That makes a lot more sense. For once, it's only going to go into the people who are working, and we're not paying people, just to sit home again. I
like that idea.
2 minutes.
Yeah, it's just a poor
great idea.
Use of the money. We're racking up. I mean, trillions. People can't picture that. We throw the words around billions and trillions, and they're just words. I mean, you've got to understand how long. You know, if you made $50,000 a year, you're talking about it would take you 1,000 years to get to that amount of money. It's just ridiculous.
You know what's bad also with this stimulus? The Democrats in Congress and Senate are still trying to push to give money to New York. They're like, there were $7 billion in the hole to begin with because of mismanagement. Yeah. And they're pushing for is we, the three of us, should give our personal money to New York, de Blasio, because they're mismanaging.
Yeah, I think that this whole COVID-19 pandemic has been used as a good excuse
for incompetence.
It's exposed a lot of that incompetence, but I think it's been used as a good excuse by many Democrats. Mm-hmm. You know, AOC, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, the list goes on and on and on. Unfortunately, it's a pretty deep bench that they have.
1 minute.
To move the United States closer to socialism. We have more people now who are who are dependent upon the government, and it's tough, you know, because here we sit in July, the weather's beautiful. So, Joe, to your point, somebody is sitting at home, they're making more money on unemployment with the $600 a week at the federal level bump that they're getting, and they're with their kids. And what is the incentive to return to work? But at some point in time, we all have to return to work. But we know what we're going to have to do right now before we return to work is we're going to have to take a time out. That's what we're going to have to do. So you are listening to Gerry Daugherty on Making Money Last on another Political Thursday, here with my guests, our regular Thursday guests, Joe Mangicotti, as well as the Colonel, Matthew Masnick. We're going to take a brief time out, and we'll be right back.
But payroll tax, that's the way to go.
It is the way to go. The payroll tax.
That's right. You don't get an incentive not to work.
These aren't like Obama's shovel-ready projects. The payroll tax is something that will be instituted next week. It's a push of a button, essentially.
Stop taking it out.
Yeah.
Do you guys know the
This is Full Service Radio, AM 830, WCRN, Worcester, Metro West.
I didn't hear that.
Senate Majority Leader
All right, Joe.
is unveiling a $1 trillion
I need you to look at how my mic is, where I have the thing out. Joe, I have the focus out.
Another riot was declared in downtown Portland,
Right,
Oregon,
and the
this time the
mic
mayor
tilted back a little.
I had a problem. I had to guess that.
And be gentle with it.
I'm not touching
It's
it.
that mic. There's some loose.
Okay, if you... Right, there's something loose inside.
We probably
Now, it won't... Guys, you want to touch the mics as infrequently as possible.
What I was trying to say, Colonel, is you were reading your phone and your head was kept hitting the microphone. That was
Joe,
what was.
Joe, I got to get you to leave that mic, because that's the troubled mic. I gave it to you because I can trust you.
I'm not touching it.
Okay? If you can, lift it up a little higher so your gullet's up when you're speaking.
Thursday in New England.
Ted, I thought if you didn't trust him, you'd give him the mic that doesn't
Here's
work.
some headlines. Landlords from Massachusetts are in
Jerry,
federal
please
court
remember I have all the
Governor
buttons
Charles
right here.
Unconstitutional eviction ban.
Yeah.
The tiny
Hey, so
house
Ted, I know you like
has
jokes. I
made
came up with
big
a.
hit
It's
over
not really a
at
joke, but I think it's
Airbnb,
a
an alternative
clever
to hotel
play
or
on
motel
words.
accommodation.
And I forgot it. Hold on
Professional
one second.
sports
It
are
was with
concerned
China
about recovering
trade.
from the China COVID shutdown.
While you're
Yes,
thinking of it, put your headphones on and listen to this.
Well, I wanted
bit
to ask you
about
guys, because I'm going to work this into a script this
Bankrupt
week.
Massachusetts
I'm going to try to work this into one of my
Brooks
scripts.
Brothers Group has found a buyer for the Boston factory.
Have you heard-
Recently shut down.
Have you heard anybody say
Widespread concern about
the reason that we're renegotiating these China trade deals is because they weren't trade deals; they were B-trade deals. I thought it was. I haven't heard anybody say that.
No, that is.
I thought about
they
it the
have
other
to be
day.
trade deals.
I thought about it in the car the other day. They're not trade deals; they're B-trade deals.
If you don't work it in today,
have you heard that or no?
Never heard that. I
Okay,
love
good.
it.
If
Then
you
I'm
don't
gonna
get
work
it
it
in
into a
today, I'm
script.
stealing it for the weekend.
Betrayal bills.
Yeah,
Or
B-trade.
Betray. Yeah, I like it.
Trayed.
All right, you guys.
We're going to talk about China in this.
Stiffen up. Here we go. Here's the weather. 30 seconds.
And the fire.
I'm meteorologist Sherry
30
Spear,
seconds.
and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. We are in for a hot and humid day with highs near 90 and humidity just about as high as it can get. Also, scattered strong to severe thunderstorms expected this afternoon with downpours, damaging wind gusts, and hail as well. Please stay alert to any kind of watches or warnings issued in your town or city.
There will be
Sherry
no
Spear,
snow.
Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM
Thank
830
goodness.
WCRN.
Gorgeous woman.
Thank you.
Let's return to Making Money Last,
I have that on
America's
tape.
retirement resource, on Full Service
go.
Radio, AM 830 WCRN. Once again, here's your host, Jerry Daugherty.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. Well, every Thursday on Making Money Last, we do a Political Thursday. You know, politics and the economy are very closely related. I don't think I really need to spell that out for anybody in this day and age of COVID-19. And joining me, as I do every Thursday to talk about a lot of these issues, is Joe Mangicotti. You know Joe from the Joe Mangicotti Show, heard right here on WCRN every Saturday and Sunday morning. And we also have the Colonel, retired Army Colonel Matthew Masnick, who joins us every
I don't
Thursday
know why the
as
traffic
well.
follows you.
And if you, the listener, would like to chime in on the conversation, you can at 508-871-7000.
What's
Again,
that
that's-
number?
Again, that's 508-871-7000. And in the background, we have our producer, Ted A., who you know. So if you call up, Ted will find out that you want to make sure about the topic that we're speaking about, and that he'll put you on hold and patch you right in here. Again, that's 508-871-7000. So let's shift gears a little bit. You know, previously we were talking about the coronavirus. And
one
the
thing on
impact-
that.
Yeah.
You know, Dr. Fauci's throwing out the ball today. You know, baseball's back. You
Yes,
know, the empty stadium. So he's throwing out the first ball for, I think, the Washington team, right?
Yeah.
So he said, we've been flattening the curve. So he said he's going to throw a curveball. I guess he was an athlete in his day. Of course, some say he's been throwing his curveball for a while. So,
Poor choice of words.
Yeah.
Exactly. A curveball.
so,
And it's kind of like the artist formerly known as Prince for the baseball team formerly known as the Redskins.
The Redskins. I think that he should have just kept it Redskins, but gone to the russet potato. So it could have been the Redskin potatoes, right?
I don't
they
know.
could have kept that.
That would actually, if we had more time than just the hour, that actually would be a good topic. What should they be named moving forward? There's a lot of smart money that has a
back in the
couple of
day,
theories,
teams
but-
used to be colors, right? Because look at it's like Harvard. Harvard was the crimson. Back Yale was yellow, right? So back in old days, coming from England, it was colors were the representative because we were very much into banners back then, right? That's how you denoted everything.
They should name the team Washington Pelosi because they're a bunch of losers.
That's actually pretty funny. I may have to use that this weekend.
Yeah, I know, right? We recycle these on the weekend.
Well, listen,
They'll
against
probably call me a racist after that.
right. Against the backdrop of all the coronavirus and the problems that we're having in the U.S. economy, things are heating up with China now, Joe.
Oh,
you
yeah.
have things really heating up with China.
I've been saying China's not our friend. Look, they have been running the surveillance programs. They're rounding people up. They've got concentration camps. I mean, and these aren't Border Patrol, AOC calling our ICE detention centers. These are the Uyghurs that they actually round up and have forced to do medical experimentation on. They re-educate them. This is happening today. I've been talking about this for a long time, and
this is Hitler number 2 in China.
It's really scary about what goes on there and what they're doing to Hong Kong right now. Right, they're just passed that they can send their secret police right into Hong Kong, scoop a citizen right up off the street, bring them back to the mainland, and nothing is done about it. While their facial recognition and tracking software are generations ahead of us, and they literally do track every citizen. Right down to, if you go in to buy a carving knife for your kitchen, they engrave a number on it. You register that knife to you. There is absolutely no freedom in this country. They have been spying for ever on us, right?
Well,
Remember Pelosi's driver?
Yeah, the good, right, exactly. I think it was actually Dianne Feinstein's driver.
Sorry. Yeah,
Dianne Feinstein's driver. But it's interesting because, you said,
you
Joe,
sure it could be all of them have a spy for
look,
a driver.
it's always a thing that you don't know that can hurt you, and there are probably a lot of unknowns out there going on right now, instigated by China, is the genesis of these things. Then God only knows where they're going to lead. But I think what's interesting, Joe, about this whole China situation is that you were saying, for years you have been saying this, and you were kind of a lone voice. And, of course, Donald Trump for years, and Colonel, I'm sure you for years, have been saying this. But it seems like now a lot of the European countries, or at least a few of them,
waking up,
are waking up. They're coming on board with that U.S. position.
And
that
we
China,
need that.
And we do need
We
that.
need that.
So it's no longer just the United States, just Joe Mangiacotti, just Colonel Matthew Masnick or Jerry Daugherty. It's now, it seems, that there is a coalition that's being formed. That, I think, is very encouraging. Yeah. There's a turning point, I think, a tipping point that we have reached with China, where I think what Donald Trump has done is the Trump administration has really exposed so much of the long-term problems with trade deals and just with our general way of dealing with China. China has infiltrated the United States. They've paid a lot of people a lot of money. You have a lot of people who are very conflicted. Here in the U.S., I was thinking the other day, I was watching one of these news reports, and they were, revisiting things like the, Harvard professor who was being paid by China and so on. And normally, we want our politicians to be objective. It's kind of like going into a courtroom. You want a dispassionate judge to be looking at your case. You want somebody who's dispassionate. You don't want somebody who has an axe to grind in your case.
Or an activist.
And right now, in the United States, we have a lot of politicians, and Joe Biden may be at the top of the list, who's not a dispassionate observer when it comes to China. He's got a dog in the fight.
He loves China, and so does his son.
And when you look at Burisma, there's a long list of people who cannot look at these relationships dispassionately. We as Americans want people in power, I think, who look at these things dispassionately, who judge on what is the right thing for the United States. If they're passionate about anything, it should be moving the interest of the American people forward. But these are not dispassionate. They are personally benefiting in many cases from these relationships.
And if you were to simply go back and look at just the tertiary comments over the years of Joe Biden about China, literally saying, there's nothing to worry about there. They're fantastic, and we're working with, he absolutely, and look, at China's best weapon is greed. They have weaponized greed. They have used greed to get into universities and corporations in every aspect of American culture and society because they just pay, and they laugh at that to us. They know that they can buy Americans by the dozen. And they've done it, right? Going back to these professors.
And other world leaders as well.
And exactly. So, and everybody wants a piece of the Chinese economy. But yet, we've got to do a right thing as a world. Can you imagine, what's going on in China versus, say, 1930s Germany? And when we hear this stuff going on, why are we allowing history to repeat itself?
But it's the classic liberal mindset, and we see it in many areas. It's short-term gain, right, being paid off,
and we're going to suffer in the long run.
So that you get
in China
without taking a look at the big picture. And what Donald Trump is doing, because he doesn't have the pressure, you have all these politicians who go into office effectively broke. A lot of them have no money, and then they leave with 20, 30, $40 million in wealth. It's absolutely amazing that this happens. And one of the things about Donald Trump is that Donald Trump doesn't have that type of pressure. So he doesn't have to be beholden
to anybody.
To these people. He can look at these things about where are they leading. So right now on the line, Ted, do you want to go to the caller or did you want to take a break? Okay. On the line we have Mark. Mark, thanks for joining Making Money Last.
Good to be here. Good to be anywhere at my age. Anyways.
You look marvelous.
You look marvelous, simply marvelous. I just hear on the news that apparently the Trump administration wants to shut down the Red China's consulate in Houston, Texas. Have you heard about that?
Yes. Yeah, they ordered that down. And Mark, that consulate is not, I mean, why does China have a consulate in Houston, Texas? It's because it's in the middle of our space programs and our energy, schools, and technology. Like, medical. This is why they have.
You just answered your own question.
Yeah. I know a lot of stupid people. I know a lot of people said, "Oh, you really want to get to China? You know, shut down the one in San Francisco, Silicon Valley." But they have been infiltrating the space program and the technology and the energy centers down there for a very, very long time.
And they've been out in their courtyard, Mark, as I'm sure you saw, burning documents. They actually have, photos of this and everything. Burning.
Well, I was going to mention that.
I would ask, where are the environmentalists? What is that doing to the ozone layer?
The smoke detectors, I guess they have a system, I guess, that's hardwired into the local fire department, and the smoke detectors were going up, boom, 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 right?
Yeah.
They get to the consulate. The Chinese delegation wouldn't let the fire department in because they were. Well, the people are saying they were. Guess what? Burning documents because they were engaged in cyber espionage into our COVID-19 vaccine research. That's what those SOBs were doing.
Where is AOC? Where is Joe Biden?
He's sleeping.
On the negative impact that this is having on our environment. Is they're burning documents. Yeah. Well, and the negative impact. The stolen intelligence from the U.S. Where are they, though? Where are they? I think the big issue here is.
Where's Attorney General Barr? That's what I want to know.
Right, no,
that guy's been asleep at the switch for 2 years.
Okay,
have a good one, fellas.
Thank you, Mark. But, gentlemen, we have to remember a couple things. One is the consulate is, in fact, foreign
Chinese
soil.
Property, yeah.
All right, so
we can't go in there.
We can't go in there, and we have to respect that as they need to respect our consulates around the world.
They just bring
the
in
other part of it
all
is,
documents because they're not going to ship them back.
But the other part of it, that's standard procedure in all embassies. We, in our embassies around the world, have burn buckets in every office instantly. Right. So whether it was Iran or whenever it heats up, we were moved out of, in Middle East. The first order that comes down, and I have great friends in the State Department and embassies around the world, and there is a burn bucket in every office set up. Not one place in the thing. Every area there's an office.
Don't they have just like an acid or something that they
should have incendiary
pour in it? Yeah.
Well, it's got. I mean, over the years, it's gotten a lot more
too archaic right now.
Right,
gentlemen. When I say burn bucket, I mean that's what it was over the years. They've gotten the technology is a little better that they actually put it into an enclosed incinerator and it vaporizes it almost instantly. But the point is, burning documents when you're ordered to evacuate an embassy is absolute normal procedure.
But Joe, what about all the other embassies, the Chinese embassies in the other states? Why are they still here?
Yeah.
They're doing the same thing.
Let's pick it up there. When we come back, we're going to have to take a brief time out. You're listening to Making Money Last. Gerry Daugherty. I'm here Monday through Friday from 11 to noon. And on Thursdays, we do Political Thursday. And I'm joined by Joe Mangicotti from the Joe Mangicotti Show, as well as the Colonel, retired Army Colonel, 38 years, Matthew Masnick. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, Ken here from Income Store. I needed to take a minute just to brag on our almost 200 amazing employees. In 2009, we changed our tagline to, we can grow any business in any industry at any time. The world trusted us and helped us become a 5-time Inc. 5000 honoree. Our 200 employees have done two major things at the same time. We manage 1,800 money-making websites and over 260
Find a forever home. And that's what they call it. When you adopt a dog, they say they need a forever home.
Find a forever home.
For Teddy's friends.
For Teddy's friends. That's cute, Joe.
Yeah.
It's a cute name.
We'll be working with area shelters. Who will
Remember, you're still on Facebook Air, gentlemen.
Strictly dogs, right?
No, we'll do cats. Yeah.
Remember that you're also still on Facebook Air.
Yes.
Yes. Have you looked at the screen? Can you click the next tab? You can see yourself.
Khalees, Greek name. The name's meaning is a gorgeous woman.
Am I in the shot? Or Teddy's in the
shot?
You
are. I think there's a delay.
Yeah.
So there is.
Yeah.
It's delayed.
That's
K. Lays.
That's going out all over the world. China's watching this.
Well, and our Houston people, huh?
They are.
So I started to tell you, so my friend Deb Drew, who has this pharmaceutical company, and she has a lot of trouble because they want to shut her down because her whole purpose is starting this nonprofit pharmaceutical company is to break up the monopolies and to get affordable drugs because they do work. Anyway, she was rummaging through her car the other day and found a buck.
Wow.
And so she sent me, I sent
A BUG.
A
listening device.
She took the batteries out of it and stuff, and I told her, you got to go to the FBI office in Worcester. But I sent it off to friends of mine in the association because we have a lot of experts that are former, like, Secret Service and FBI guys who would know what it is. But I told her,
How did she find it? Cleaning her car or something?
Yeah, she was rummaging through the thing, and it was in.
Where was it?
It was in the up on the in the glove box on the thing. So the way that is, I said, she's like, maybe it's a GPS. I said, GPS you put on the exterior. You don't want to put it. You don't put that in a metal box. You put it up under. I said, if it's in the car where it's higher risk to get into the car undetected and so forth, it's a listening device.
Yeah, 1 minute, Joe. If she would look back at who serviced her car last, you might, who's going to get in, right? Yeah. But we got 1 minute, guys.
Maybe
we're coming right back after the Shining Rock.
Dwayne.
Years of experience is dedicated to every aspect of your experience. Our Pro Shop and Club Pros work tirelessly to help you. You can book your tea time up to a week ahead, 7 days a week. Our event team will make sure your group has a memorable experience. We can customize events to your budget. Shining Rock's #1 priority is the success of your golf experience. Call and book your next round or to speak with our event staff today at 508-234-0400. That's 508-234-0400 or visit us on the web at www.shiningrock.com.
Okay, guys, here we go. Your mics are live.
This is Making Money Last, America's retirement resource on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN. Once again, here's your host, Gerry Daugherty.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on this Political Thursday here on Making Money Last. And I'm joined by Joe Mangiacotti from the Joe Mangiacotti Show, heard right here on WCRN every Saturday and Sunday morning, as well as by the Colonel, retired Army Colonel Matthew Masnick, 38 years. And if you would like to join the conversation, you can chime in. Speak to us directly at 508-871-7000. Again, that's 508-871-7000. And, I have to tell you, it's really a pleasure to be talking about something other than coronavirus, to be talking about this China situation, that other stories are beginning to resurface. Maybe that's a small, very incremental, tiny little step
we're getting back
to
to
all
normal.
of us. Right. I'm a little coronavirused out. If the politicians don't understand the nature of coronavirus at this point in time, then I'm ready to give up on it anyway. But but we have to get this economy open. But on top of that, we have all of these other issues. And we were talking about China and the embassy that was closed, the Chinese embassy in Houston, real hotbed for technology. And Joe, you want to chime in?
Well, it's just as we were leaving, in the Colonel, you were saying something about the other. So you have to remember every action has an opposite equal reaction. If we can't close all of the consulates, especially at one time. That would be a huge, international incident. Then China will retort by closing all of our embassies. And
I think
we're
that
in
they
a very
are.
bad.
I heard
they already are
earlier
closing
today.
one,
Yeah.
right? But if closing an embassy is a it's laying one across the bow type of thing. It's a serious response, and the president needed to give a very serious response because our intelligence agencies have been monitoring the consulates, and we have known for a very long time that the Houston consulate has been the hub of their spy center. That's actually where they run all the operations, including a lot of the disinformation and propaganda that they're getting out there in America.
And I got to tell you,
this
going.
And
if it weren't for the Trump administration,
this would have never happened.
Nobody would care.
But because Biden is in love with China.
Hotbed of spies, apparently, in Houston as well as on college campuses. Nobody would care unless this stuff were exposed.
But here's
by Trump.
the thing: is I thought you're only allowed to have one embassy. Why do you have to have 5 or 6 embassies in the United States?
Yeah.
I thought they were all in Washington, D.C.
No, the consulate. There's an embassy, and then there's the consulates, which are the arms of the embassy. And again, all of the privileges and rights extend, meaning it's foreign soil.
Follow the money. Follow the money. Why do we have embassies?
Yeah, exactly.
So how much are the embassies donating to the vice president campaign?
Well, see, that's the thing is in order to find out all of the money, you'd have to really do a lot of, and your mic's on, a lot of the digging into this and finding
only in your ear.
How they put money into their. I lost my train of thought. You got to follow the money because what they've done is they've just filtered it through other corporations. Even the Clinton Foundation, right? We've talked about this before. That's why they had the Canadian version of it because the reporting requirements are very different in Canada. So the money would come in from foreign countries like Russia, like China, and then be transferred to the American Clinton Foundation. So you have to follow the money. But we go all the way back to Bill Clinton's administration, and he sold technology to China. Straight out sold it.
Uranium
and got huge
to Russia.
donations.
Yep.
Huge donations. So, Jerry, follow the money. It's the
but here's the point
that we have to talk about.
Majority of them, Joe, that were receiving stuff from China, free gifts and free money, free political. Majority are the Democrats.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean it's across both lines because look at the Republicans in Washington D.C. There's not much difference between a Washington Democrat and a Republican when it comes to their greed and how they want it. They want the status quo. If they were true Republicans, they would be upsetting the apple cart a little more than they do.
So let me ask you this: you think this is true that the Chinese are donating to Hunter Biden's lawyers?
It could very well be, and hopefully, look. The thing is that all of these press conferences since President Trump has been in office, a lot of people look at them as press conferences where Donald Trump is pushing out his message. The other thing these press conferences have done is they've exposed the incompetence of the National Press Corps here in the United States, and hopefully, in answer to your question, Colonel, hopefully somebody's going to ask that question. And hopefully somebody's going to dig into that.
Well,
are they benefiting for it? What is actually the favor that's being achieved here from these relationships, and who has been involved in these things that effectively have sold out the United States? We do have a caller, though.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
Sorry,
let's go on to Gene. Gene, welcome to Making Money Last.
Gene?
Yeah. Do we have Gene?
All right, well, we're waiting for Gene to come on. I mean, the other thing, Obama and Biden did this video, right, over this last couple of days. And, they got together and they trashed Trump a little bit.
Yeah.
And and he comes out with this comment that, unbelievable, that Trump is the first racist elected to the presidency. Others have tried, but they never made it. I mean, forgetting for a moment that we've had 12 presidents who were slave owners. Joe
Biden has some pretty disturbing racial comments, but let's move on.
Right,
I think he did reestablish. Ted, do you have Gene on there? Okay. Go ahead, Gene.
I'm sorry. I don't know what I did, so please forgive me, you wonderful guys. And
Gene, you look marvelous.
I'll tell you something. I look a hell of a lot better. One of my nieces was here yesterday. She goes, "I love your haircut." So, hey, I made some brownie points with the youngest set. So, but you know something? I made some calls because I said my heart was pounding so big. You have come out today, and you, the new colonel that's on the show, congratulations. You're on WCRN. Follow the money. Okay, key thing. Please keep on reiterating everything. Well, I walked in and I heard you, Joe, about what
less than 2 minutes.
A half an hour ago, Joe. And I heard how you were talking about how they're using the virus to control. how they're using this virus because they want to get us into the regime, unfortunately,
Gene, they are absolutely doing that. I thank you for the call. We're just getting a little bit tight on time here. They absolutely are doing that, and I think that is the main thing. Unfortunately, we're a little bit out of time for Making Money Last, but I did want to move on to one thing before we just closed out today's show, and that's something very special that Joe Mangiacotti has started with his dog, Ted.
Yeah. Well, it was Teddy's idea.
It was Teddy's idea.
He came up with the whole thing. But we're going to be launching a feature on my show, and hopefully we'll get it on other parts of the airtime during the week. It's called Find a Forever Home for Teddy's Friends, and we'll be working in cooperation with area shelters where they'll give me a candidate every week who needs a forever home, and we'll profile them, and we'll post it on Teddy's Facebook page at Teddy Goodpop, and we'll put it on the air, and hopefully we'll find some forever homes for these puppies.
Good. Well, Joe Mangiacotti, thank you again, and I hope you, listening to us, tune into the Joe Mangiacotti Show on Saturday and Sunday mornings right here on WCRN. And the Colonel, Matthew Masnick, sir, yes.
And we'd like to congratulate you on being a grandfather.
Oh, yes.
With your beautiful granddaughter.
Awesome.
Her name is Kay Lays, K-A, like C-A-L-I-S-E, and the meaning is a gorgeous woman. So congratulations,
Thank you very much, sir.
And, and your wife and grandmother.
Grampy.
Well, I'm going to have to wrap it up here on Making Money Last. Until tomorrow, this is Jerry Daugherty saying retirement is within reach. And please stay tuned to WCRN for the Drew Mortgage Show.
This has been Making Money Last, America's retirement resource, with your host, Jerry Daugherty, on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN.